What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here, live for your March 16th NFL free agency recap, reaction, and analysis. In this video, we will live break down every single signing and transaction from today in the NFL for 2021 NFL free agency. So get in that chat. Let me know how you feel about your team's moves today or yesterday. Let me know how you feel about your team currently constituted and if they should be making some moves. If you're a little bit nervous, if your team isn't making enough moves, bro, let me know in the comments if your team's making too many moves. Maybe you're a Patriots fan. Maybe you need to check and see if your fever is too high. I don't know. Let me know in the comment section. Let me know how you're feeling at this current moment in time about your team. All right? So we're going to do it just as we did yesterday. So it's basically, I treat this as if I'm sitting here and I'm recording videos all night. So that's how it's going to go down, guys. You get a glimpse into how I record a video. I just set up, I get that video going, and eventually, you guys will be bombarded with videos coming out. So just let you know, I had 17 videos, bro. I just did 17 videos yesterday. Okay? So 17 of those things are edited. 17 of those things are ready to go on YouTube, probably while you're sleeping tonight. You're not going to get all the notifications. So just a heads up, if you missed yesterday, just be prepared to watch those individual breakdowns tomorrow, because everything that happened yesterday will be up on the channel by tomorrow morning, and then the same thing will be happening for this video the next day. All right, so if you miss anything live, don't worry, because everything I do here live will be going on the channel as a separate individual breakdown, where I break down the moves that your team made in that day, or I break down a specific signing or trade that has happened. Okay, so don't worry about it. You just let me know in the comments how you feel today about your team. There's been some huge signings today. I mean, today, bro, Thomas, 17 videos. We got another 17. Let's see how this looks. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We've got 14 more to go today. So, yeah, live recording here on the Bottom Line View. That's how we get it done. So, guys, before I get started, make sure that you do Gronk spike that like button, or wait. Make sure you do Hunter Henry spike. That doesn't really sound good, but Hunter Henry spike that like button. No, wait. No, make sure you do Jonnu Smith spike that like button. All right? Let's go. Okay, let's kick it off first with saying hi to some people, because I know you guys, you come here, you want to ask the questions. So we'll get to William Jackson first, because that's the most recent signing. That's a big signing. So we're going to get to that first. But let's say hi to everybody. So, Not You is in the chat. Thomas is in the chat. What's going on? Thomas from Catch the Blitz. That's my man. Go, make sure you guys go follow Catch the Blitz. All right? They're putting out the latest. Hunter Henry. Turtle says, do your paper. Turtle, you're the one that should be doing your paper. Joseph says, Galladay to Tennessee. Imagine. What's going on, Joseph? Joseph the student. We have Thomas Pickles in here. Isaac is in here. He says, I'm kind of afraid that the Dolphins might have a very hard time making the playoffs. We'll talk about that. Connor says, those videos don't count because I already watched them. Connor, not everybody's like you. Connor is one of the biggest BLVers out there, bro. This guy he's committed. Bennett says, I love the Patriots and the Bucks. Ultra huge signings. Shanav's in the chat. Monty. What's going on, Monty? I know Monty's hyped. Packers Goats in the chat. Sports Today. What's going on, bro? Packers Goat. Benjamin Smithland, he wants to know about Tyrod. Okay, we'll get to that. We'll get to Tyrod. Don't worry. We'll get to everything that happened today, guys. Jasmine's in the chat. What's going on, Jasmine? I don't know what hot take. I don't know what paper. Maybe somebody else has a paper. Thomas says, follow Catch the Blitz. We went live with Mitch last night breaking down free agency. Yes, he is correct. We did go live on Instagram, and we're going to do it again very soon. Monty is feeling great. He must have had, like, his favorite pizza or something. Dirk Kant says, my Dolphins are ruining our chances. It's been a long time, John. I only saw you 4 minutes ago. All right. Beavis, what's going on? Okay, so let's start with William Jackson. Now, again, guys, I don't have any graphics right now. That's another reason to tune in the individual videos is to get the graphics. I don't have enough time to do that because it's just rapid. Like, something could break right now. I wouldn't be able to make the graphic for you guys. I'm sorry. But let's do it. So let's start with William Jackson. All right, 3 years, $42 million. Okay. The Washington football team has signed the number one cornerback in free agency. A 3-year, $42 million deal. William Jackson has elite cornerback traits. I believe, and I have compared William Jackson to Stephon Gilmore of just a couple years ago. Okay, both of these guys have had peak seasons where they've looked like all-pro caliber players, but other seasons where they've been inconsistent. And perhaps that has been because of the system. Maybe that has been because of the team. I'm just throwing it out there, but we saw it with Stephon Gilmore that if you take a really talented raw corner with the physical tools of a William Jackson, with the speed, with the length, with the height, with the ball skills, we've seen William Jackson perform at a very high level before. And that is what he's being paid to do. $14 million-ish per year is the report. He is a guy that I've always liked, okay? And I think he can really thrive as basically a corner that does a little bit of everything. He can play in a zone system. He could play in a man system. But what he was in Cincinnati was often underrated because there's only few corners in these leagues, man. In the NFL, there's probably 5 to 10 corners that teams actually realistically say, you're our number one corner, and you are playing on an island versus the number one receiver. There's probably 10, maybe a little bit less than that. William Jackson is one of those 10. Even though his production has not been to that level, like you wouldn't rank him based on his production on a top 10. But what Cincinnati has told me by watching them play is that they have felt William Jackson has been that player for them, right? An island corner, a lockdown corner, a one-on-one corner. No safety help. Washington now has a chess piece in their secondary. They have somebody that can take on a number one wide receiver. They have somebody that can lock down a number one wide receiver. And we saw they actually got really good production out of sort of lesser names at the corner position, bargain bin corners. And Ronald Darby just signed with the Broncos, played really well for you guys, for you Washington fans out there. But William Jackson is truly an upgrade in that department. He is a much more talented cornerback, and you are getting an upgrade here, even though Ronald Darby did play well for you last year. Right? So you still have Fuller at the nickel, playing a little bit hybrid outside-inside safety. And now you have a true number one perimeter corner to partner with a great pass rush, right? With Allen, with Payne, with Young. You have a number one cornerback. And the other thing that can be said here is it's going to make William Jackson better simply that he has an actual legitimate pass rush up front where he doesn't have to worry about covering for as long. Okay, so he can take more chances. He can jump routes. He can jump the football. He can read the eyes of the quarterback and make plays in the secondary. So I really love this move. He's a player that I've liked physically for a long time and has stood out every time I've watched the Bengals. You know, I don't feel enough people watch the Bengals. I think that's part of the reason he has kind of a bad rap. Like, I have not seen many cornerbacks really in this league that possess the skills he has. So that just speaks to the ceiling he has, right? The floor might be there and the floor might be worrisome, but you're banking on hitting that ceiling with Jack Del Rio as the defensive coordinator, with Ron Rivera as the head coach. These are guys that can get the best out of these players. So I really like this move for Washington. I feel it might have been their missing piece on defense. It now makes their defense not just top 5, but maybe, top 3. It gives them a piece, a number 1 shutdown corner potentially that they did not have last year. So that is huge for Washington in what their identity is defense. So William Jackson to the Washington football team. Let me know. Do I call you guys football team fans? Do I call you guys that? I don't even know. I haven't even considered that for a second. Let me know in the comments section what you guys think of this move. William Jackson to the football team. Really, what do you call these guys? What do you call this? Do we have any football team fans in this chat? What do we call you? Yes, free agency is crazy. Thomas says, since he has also never had a great pass rush, Jackson's job will be easier in the Washington football team with that loaded front 7 pressure like crazy. I wouldn't consider them the second best defense last year. That's just me, though. Maybe statistically they were. Yeah, Jasmine loves me. What's going to happen to Edelman? Edelman is going to probably stay on the Pats. The football teamers. Yeah, maybe. All right. Next, let's go with Tyrod Taylor. This one was interesting. Footballs? Washington fans? Hey, if Edelman gets released and goes to Tampa, that would be dope. That would be awesome. But I don't know if that will actually happen. And the weird enough, Tampa Bay fans don't even want that to happen, which is even weirder. So let's go with Tyrod Taylor. So Tyrod Taylor, 1-year contract worth up to $12.5 million. Base value is less than half of that. Solid backup money. Okay, that's the report. The Houston Texans have their Deshaun Watson insurance. Tyrod Taylor is making up to $12.5 million in 2021. Now, the base salary of that is approximately half, maybe less than half of that money. So I would look for Tyrod Taylor to make about $5.5 to $6 million this year, somewhere around that Cam Newton, Jameis Winston contract. Good backup money, but he is a backup. And when we discussed him on the preview for free agency, I said Tyrod Taylor, his chance to be a starter, it's gone. You could say goodbye to that. He's had an opportunity in Buffalo where pretty good with Buffalo. Opportunity with the Browns, he threw that away. Mayfield outplayed him. Then he went to the Chargers, had an opportunity there, and it was just apparent that Justin Herbert was the guy. So maybe Tyrod Taylor's been a tad unlucky. He's still a upper echelon backup. I think what Tyrod Taylor gives you, of course, is a veteran who started many games. He's somebody that has plenty of experience, even in the playoffs. He has mobility, rare mobility, in fact. Now, maybe he's not as fast as he used to be maybe 5 years ago, but he still can move. He can escape pressure. He can scramble, extend plays, all that stuff Tyrod Taylor does bring to your offense. The thing I love about Tyrod Taylor as a backup is that he does protect the football. He rarely turns it over. He rarely throws picks. He rarely fumbles the ball. And that's in part due to his great mobility. Because he can escape pressure, he can throw the ball away. Now, the thing with Tyrod Taylor is you're not going to see the deep ball. Tyrod Taylor is not a downfield, risky type thrower. He's not going to throw into tight windows. He often needs to see the receiver get open. That is kind of Tyrod Taylor. It's rather open or it's not to Tyrod Taylor. And that somewhat has kind of held him back in his career because he's not capable of making those tight window throws. But Tyrod Taylor is an upper echelon backup, somebody that you want just in case your guy goes down, or just in case in this point, right, with Deshaun Watson, if Deshaun Watson isn't able to play, or if he's holding out, or if he's going to get traded, this is somebody that can step in there and really be insurance and solid quality insurance. That's what Tyrod Taylor is. Also, he's similar in a way to Deshaun Watson, right? Because of that mobility, because of the size and stature. He's not the passer, especially deep, that Deshaun Watson is, but at least he still provides you with that mobility aspect that Deshaun has. And that's something that I always appreciate with NFL team building, is trying to get a backup that is like your starter, because I feel that is the best way that you can go to succeed as an NFL team. It's not too far off from what you already have. You know, it's maybe a lesser version of what you have. So if Deshaun Watson's traded, which I don't know if he's going to be or not, I honestly have no idea, okay? If he's traded, Tyrod Taylor can be your bridge quarterback, because you know you're going to have a high draft pick, okay? But if Deshaun Watson is playing for you, Tyrod Taylor is somebody that you'd like to have in your locker room, and also somebody that you'd like to have for possible injury insurance. He's also somebody to entice and incentivize Deshaun Watson to come back and play. So, is this scaring Deshaun Watson? No, not necessarily. But at least the Texans have somebody so that they're not absolutely screwed and they don't look like the worst franchise that has existed. So, I appreciate this move from Nick Caserio, and I've appreciated most moves. I understand that a lot of people are looking at these signings and they're like, who the heck is Joe Thomas? But I'm like, this guy is going out, he's getting depth. You know, he's taking very low risk signings, 1-year contracts, under $5 million. He's shooting his darts and he's saying maybe a couple of these guys will stick. Maybe a couple of these guys will be successful. And if not, okay, we're going to lose anyways. Who cares? But this roster has been in desperation for depth. So not only do they have depth now and have built their special teams, but they have depth with some linebackers that they've brought in, defensive linemen that they've brought in, and now the quarterback, the backup quarterback. So I like this move once again from the Texans. Nothing sexy here. Tyrod Taylor is just good insurance for Deshaun Watson. All right. Don't think Watson's going anywhere, says Jasmine. Fake news. What happened? Chris Carson signed with the Patriots? Is that fake news? What's my take on cheap players that the Saints can bring in? I'm asking for Turtle. The poop just... What? The poop just asked the bot on Discord. What's your take on cheap players and the Saints can bring in? Bro, I have no idea. Do the Saints even have enough money to afford a $1 million contract? I know that I saw that they were interested in Richard Sherman, but I don't know how realistic that is. Des Bryant. Okay, we're going to go with the Giants next. John Ross on a 1-year deal, $2.5 million, $1 million guaranteed. Our old buddy John Ross. He is back, ladies and gentlemen. Guys, if you haven't already, make sure you do Gronk Spike or Jonnu Spike that like button. Let's go. The New York Giants have been searching for speed, and they definitely have speed with John Ross. Now, John Ross hasn't really brought much to the table in terms of his NFL career, and would be considered thus far, since being drafted in 2017, as a bust. But 4.22 speed is going to at least help your team in some fashion or form, or add a layer of depth to your wide receiving core. The Giants have been looking for perimeter wide receivers, and I like Darius Slayton. I think he is a solid number 2 in this league. I like Sterling Shepard, who's more of a slot receiver. But adding John Ross does add a dimension of a deep threat. Remember, in 2019, when he was healthy, This was a guy that was averaging over 60 yards a game, actually had himself a decent year when he was healthy. Again, that's the key consideration here. So taking a low-risk opportunity on John Ross for 1 year, $2.5-ish million is really not a bad idea. You know, everyone's going to be saying that this guy's a bust and this guy sucks and stinks and whatever. But, like, really, there were worse signings out there, for sure. Like, this is a good, quality, high-reward, low-risk signing. And a player that has actually shown he can be productive in this league, at least in a role where he is primarily a downfield wide receiver. And that's what John Ross is. And he's going to help unlock one of the better, sneakily one of the better downfield passers in the league, Daniel Jones. You'd be surprised to know that Daniel Jones actually was pretty good at throwing the ball down the field. And I am a believer in the growth of Daniel Jones. I think he can be something in this league, and I think adding more weapons is never a bad idea around Daniel Jones. This is a big season coming up for Daniel Jones. It's a make or break season for Daniel Jones. If he doesn't perform to the level that people want him to perform inside that organization, inside that fan base, they may be looking to replace him. So, no, it's not Kenny Golladay, and I know a lot of Giants fans wanted Kenny Golladay. Still an opportunity to get Kenny Golladay. But this could be your number 4 wide receiver for sure, and play a role as that speedy target to stretch defenses and make plays down the field. So John Ross, yes, he hasn't been great so far. Most of that's been due to injury, but he has, when healthy, produced, and he can produce for the Giants. So John Ross, 1-year deal to the G-Men. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Ross, the 4.22 speed, has gone to the Big Apple. Do you respect a data mine? Not you says I already finished. What are you talking about? Go Buck says, Mitch, it's Smith Spike, the like. I like that, actually. Turtle says the Saints have 9 million. All right. Well, okay, so honestly, I can't even keep track of all the players they've released. So I'm trying to think. Janoris Jenkins was released. He signed. They released Emmanuel Sanders. Their offensive line is intact. Running backs are intact. Tight ends they don't have. So maybe you want to look at a tight end. Maybe you want to look at corner for sure because Janoris Jenkins is gone. Quan Alexander was released. I think they should be able to get away with a linebacker, like their linebacker position is currently constituted. Their defensive line you could get in the draft. So I'd say looking to free agency, I would be saying for the Saints, look at wide receiver, look at corner, try to look at some, number 2, number 3 options maybe for those positions. And possibly tight end, maybe. Yeah, they cut a lot of guys. It's kind of hard to keep track. Malcolm Brown was traded, yeah. All right, Bengals. Bengals are next. I'm unaware of the money here. I didn't even look, so we're just going to go with the Bengals next. Smith spiked that like button, guys. We've got 60 people in here. Let's get half the likes. Let's go. No, you know what? Scratch that. I want 70% of the likes. Okay, Bengals. 2 cornerbacks, Awuzie and Mike Hilton. The Cincinnati Bengals redo that. The Cincinnati Bengals in 2020 attacked the cornerback position. They attacked some names that they felt could help them. Trey Waynes and Alexander from Minnesota. Didn't really help them much. Now, I didn't mind what Alexander offered their secondary, but Trey Waynes really did not work out. For the 2021 season, they have once again gone back to the well, not of Minnesota corners, but of corners in general. They brought in Mike Hilton, one of the top nickel corners on the market, and they brought in Chidobe Awuzie from the Dallas Cowboys. Two players that I think this combo is a better combo than what they brought in last year. I'll say that much. I really like Mike Hilton. I think Mike Hilton, it was between him and Brian Poole for the best nickel corner available this offseason, and you could argue he was the best. I like Mike Hilton. He plays with a feistiness. He plays with a toughness. He plays with an edge. He could come in the box, make a play, make a tackle. He's good in man-to-man. He's good in zone. Good read and react player. Just a stealer. You're adding that to your team. You're taking one of the best defenders on your rival and putting him in your secondary. I like it. Nickel corner's more valuable than people want to talk about. Nickel corner is a position that is very valuable in the modern NFL. And Mike Hilton will be a massive upgrade. He's probably on the list of the top 10, maybe even top 5 nickel corners in the league. So you have Mike Hilton. Little undersized, but good player. Still fairly young as well. The other player you have, again, pretty young. I think, off the top of my head, Chidobe Awuzie is about 25 years old. And what he can do is play outside or play inside. He can play nickel if he's asked to play nickel, but majority of the snaps in Dallas have came on the perimeter. So Chidobe Awuzie is somebody that played in similar defense in Dallas, and I think will fit in quite well there. I think last year he didn't play his best. A little underwhelming from that perspective, but who played well on the Dallas defense? Let's be honest. Let's be clear about that. Nobody played well on the Dallas defense last year. This year, I think Chidobe Awuzie will be a solid addition to Cincinnati because when you look at his track record over his first 2 to 3 years, he's been mostly good. Mostly a good number 2 corner. And I think that's what they'll be asking him to be in Cincinnati. Now, they lost William Jackson, so the question is, who is their number 1 perimeter corner? Who's their number 1 guy? But maybe they'll be looking to utilize that money elsewhere, whether that's on the offensive line, whether that's on the defensive line, on the defense in general. There's plenty of decisions to be had for the Bengals in the draft. They still got plenty of places to address. So I like that they're taking the cornerback market seriously and they're addressing a position of need here. At the same time, they do lose William Jackson. But like I said in the preview for this team, I would have done the same thing because, yes, William Jackson can be great somewhere else, maybe Washington, but he was not great for the most part with you. So you would be overpaying for maybe a player that's talented that fits elsewhere better than in your team, in your system. So I really like the addition of Mike Hilton. I like the addition of Chidobe Awuzie, who I thought, Awuzie specifically, was one of the more underrated corners available because he's coming off probably his weakest season. But I think he's better than he showed in 2020. So I like that combination. I like those 2 corners, both young, both up-and-coming players for the Cincinnati Bengals secondary. All right, the Bengals are down. Seattle should sign Trent Williams, says Deshaun. What's going on, bro? What's going on, Deshaun? He says, what about Kenny Golladay that was with Detroit in 2020? Kenny Golladay has not been signed yet. And Raiders re-signed Nicholas Moreau. Okay. Interesting. Okay, so we've got... Next up, should I do Hunter Henry? Who should I do next? Guys, give me a team who I should do next. QB Data Mine on Twitter. Let me check them out. They follow 0 people. Interesting. I'll give them a follow. Is that you? Is that you, Connor? QB data mine. Alex says, not sure if it's out there, but Nicholas Moreau is re-signed. It's out there now. Connor gave me the news. Evan Lazar, Patriots beat reporter, did tweet an hour ago that he's still hearing that the Patriots could add another receiver. A lot of guys still unsigned because the money they want isn't out there. Would expect top of the market receivers to get paid, but others might settle for one-year deals. Interesting. Gabriel wants me to do Marvin Jones. We got a lot of Pats. We got some Jags. Jags was first. Where is Juju going to go? I like Miami for Juju, and I like the Raiders for Juju. My position hasn't changed on him. So we're going to do Marvin Jones next. Maybe the Jags as a whole. Let's just see. So they got Shaq Griffin, Tyson Alualu, Marvin Jones, and Malcolm Brown. Am I missing anybody there? Oh, and also Rashawn Jenkins, because I did not do Rashawn Jenkins yesterday. So let's go through that list of names. I want to see what Shaq Griffin signed for, because that's important to me. Shaq Griffin. 3-year deal. 3-year deal, $40 million. Okay, yeah. Upside, that makes sense. That makes sense. All right, let's do it. Jags. The Jacksonville Jags are back at it again. Again, like I said in the first video, the first breakdown about Jacksonville, everybody's talking about Bill Belichick. Everybody's talking about the Patriots making this move and that move and this move and that move. Jacksonville has made just as many moves, and they're making big-time additions to their roster. I'm talking about Shaq Griffin at the cornerback position to go to on the other side of C.J. Henderson. I really like that addition. We have Marvin Jones, a very solid number 2 wide receiver to complement DJ Chark on the other side. You're adding to your defensive line, Tyson Alualu, Roy Robertson Harris, who we'd already discussed, and then Malcolm Brown. So 2 defensive linemen, a safety Rashawn Jenkins, wide receivers, cornerbacks. The Jacksonville Jags are really filling this starting lineup. Like, these are legitimate starters here. Let's start off with Shaq Griffin, who might have been the biggest, most marquee signing of all of them. I understand Marvin Jones' name is probably bigger, but in terms of impact, in terms of money, I believe Shaq Griffin was the biggest addition today for Jacksonville. Shaq Griffin is somebody that I really liked last year. I thought 2019 played very well. I believe, PFF ranked him as like a top 10 corner. This year took a slight step back, wasn't as good, but primarily has played in that cover 3 press bail Seattle scheme defense. He's been pretty good there, but I've always thought that Shaq Griffin might be better in a different system because I really like his ability to play, with his long arms, his great ability to just disrupt the football. He has pretty good speed. He's not like super fast, but pretty good speed, pretty good height, like a good mix of just an overall pretty great athlete. I think that's what you're getting there in Jacksonville, is a very good number 2 corner. I think a lot of the time, basically his entire career, he's been the number 1 corner in Seattle. He's been called upon to cover the number 1 wide receiver, or he's played a majority of the same side in Seattle because that's kind of the scheme, that's kind of the system. He doesn't really follow receivers, but Seattle has looked at him as their primary number 1 corner. And I think now in Jacksonville, he's going to be looked at as the number 2 behind C.J. Henderson, right? And I think that is a great role for him. I think he's a great complementary corner. He'll be able to lock down and shut down some of the taller wide receivers in the league. Maybe the guys that are a little bit more jump ball-esque type players, more, contested catch type of guys. I think that's where Shaq Griffin can really thrive, especially in this new system, that's kind of Baltimore-centric on the defensive side of the football. I know I've brought that up many times, but I feel like it's something that I need to continue to say with Jacksonville, because I think a lot of people think of Jacksonville and they think of, the Jalen Ramsey and the Calais Campbell and that defense that was under Gus Bradley, that defense that was more of a Seattle scheme. Now they're shifting to basically the complete opposite, which is more of like a Baltimore, more of a hybrid, 3-4, 4-3 fronts, mixing in coverages, man, zone. Is this guy coming? Is this guy dropping? Shaq Griffin is going to be playing more man in this system, and I think he's going to be playing more matchup-based coverage. So I think he's going to thrive in that system. I like him a lot. He's still young, too. So you have Shaq Griffin. On the other side of the ball, the second biggest marquee signing here was Marvin Jones of the Detroit Lions. Marvin Jones is getting a little bit older, but I still think he's a pretty quality number 2 wide receiver. I would never call him a number 1, but I think he's going to complement DJ Chark quite well and give probably Trevor Lawrence a really good number 2 target. Marvin Jones is a guy that really is good with contested catches. In the red zone, makes a lot of plays, good down the field stretcher in terms of his ability to just locate the football in the air. He's not necessarily going to burn you, but he can locate the football anywhere it is and make a play on it. So Marvin Jones is an awesome target. Good possession receiver as well. Makes plays on third down, makes plays over the middle, makes plays down the sidelines. So Marvin Jones has just been underrated for a majority of his career. Has played number 2 a majority of his career. In Detroit, he played the number 2 to Kenny Golladay. In Jacksonville, he'll play the number 2 to DJ Chark. I think a player in DJ Chark who's also underrated. So those are the primary signings. You had Rashawn Jenkins yesterday, who I forgot to cover yesterday, so I'm going to cover him now. But Rashawn Jenkins, I mentioned him many times in my preview of the safety position for free agency. I thought he was one of the more underrated guys on the market, a guy that can really become a thumper, hit hard, hit downhill. He's going to take people's heads off. He's going to be more of a strong safety type, can play a little bit of free safety if asked, but he reminds me, comparable to like a Trey Boston, has the ability to play both safety spots, split safety, and, in the box as well. I think he can be, man-to-man on tight end, but you really want him to just come downhill and make plays and just hit people and cause, havoc. I think that's what he does best. Rashawn Jenkins, underrated player, I think has been underrated and has had to basically raise his level of play with Derwin James being out for the last couple of years for the Chargers. So underrated signing there for Jacksonville is going to really help elevate that safety position that was maybe their worst position last year. Rashawn Jenkins. Then you have Malcolm Brown up front. Malcolm Brown is going to join the likes of Roy Robertson Harris and the other players you've brought in, Tyson Alualu. So we'll talk about them basically at the same time here. Starting with Malcolm Brown. Malcolm Brown playing for my Patriots for a majority of his career until last year where he played with the Saints. Pretty much, a 4-down lineman, interior defensive tackle, more of a run defender than a pass rusher. He's a pretty good run defender, though. I think was always kind of underrated for New England in that role, but he's not really going to offer you much in terms of a pass rusher. He's not really good in that avenue, in that department. Former first-round pick, I think people value that. I think people look at that and say, quality player. But I just think Malcolm Brown, nothing sexy here. He's just a quality starting defensive tackle that will play in the rotation, probably play on early downs. And with Baltimore, being a system of hybrid and being a system of versatility similar to New England, I think Malcolm Brown brings that versatility where maybe he could play like a 3-man front defensive end or he could play a 4-man front defensive tackle. So Malcolm Brown. Then you got Tyson Alualu, who just coming off his best season of his career where he's already into his 30s and had a breakout year, I think at like 32, 33 years old. With Pittsburgh, he played a lot in place of Javon Hargrave, who left to Philadelphia, and of course, Stephon Tuitt, who also got injured this year. So he played in there a lot. He's a pretty good all-around defensive lineman. He's mostly been known for his size and his run defense ability, but he can rush the passer, I would say, a little bit better than a guy like Malcolm Brown, and is coming off his best season. Again, another guy that's played in mostly a 3-down front kind of defense, right? So you signed Tyson Alualu, you signed Malcolm Brown, you signed Roy Robertson-Harris. All players have played, in Pittsburgh, Chicago, New England, all defenses that ask for defensive linemen to be kind of hybrid, kind of, being willing to be versatile and line up in different types of sets and fronts. So I think those guys all fit the scheme fairly well. And I think all of them are very good at defending the run. So I think the main priority here for the Jags has not necessarily been pass rush, but it's been run defense for them on these first 2 days of free agency with the defensive line. That was really a huge weakness for them last year. So I understand why they went with that approach. Jacksonville, I think, has had a really good day, really good 2 days of free agency thus far, and I think has upgraded their defense and their offense. And honestly, people could be sleeping on them heading into this season. I think they do have more talent. If you looked at their depth chart after the next couple of days, you'd be like, you know what, Jacksonville, they've got some talent. They don't really have that many holes on their roster remaining, and I think they've still got plenty of money and plenty of moves to make. So Jacksonville, maybe could surprise some people with Trevor Lawrence in 2021. All right. Next. Who's next, guys? Yeah, Connor, I saw that David Andrews might leave New England. That's sad. I'm sad about that. Don't make me sad, man. I've been on such a high. Don't make me sad, Connor. Who's the next team, guys? Give me the next team in the comments. I need to hear it. Do Buffalo. All right, Landon's on it. Gronk spiked that like button. Jonnu Smith. Damn it, I messed it up again. Smith spiked the like button, guys. Landon says do Buffalo. All right. Buffalo did just Emmanuel Sanders, right? What's happening with Watson? Something to do with a lawsuit. They did release their center, Yusef, and I wouldn't be surprised if Rodney Hudson ended up in New England for sure. So Buffalo signed just Emmanuel Sanders. They might have made a couple re-signings, but that's not a big deal, I don't think. So yeah, let's do Emmanuel Sanders. How about that? The Buffalo Bills have replaced John Brown within their receiving core with a veteran that's been around the NFL and has been successful on multiple teams in multiple schemes. Emmanuel Sanders finally finds himself in a offense with Brian Daboll that I've wanted to see him in, a scheme that I've wanted to see him in for a very, very long time. Brian Daboll, of course, coming from New England, was in that offensive meeting room within that coaching staff that nearly did sign Emmanuel Sanders way back in 2014, way back in 2013. And finally, Brian Daboll has landed Emmanuel Sanders. It took him a long time. It's past Emmanuel Sanders' prime. But what I'll say about Emmanuel Sanders is he will give you a very nice complementary wide receiver. A player that can play outside, a player that can play inside, a player with versatility. He doesn't have the quickness, he doesn't have the speed, he doesn't have the suddenness that he used to have, but he's still a quality possession receiver. He's still experienced enough, savvy enough to make plays underneath the defense and break the odd tackle, get the odd first down, score the odd touchdown. Emmanuel Sanders was very productive for San Francisco on their way to the Super Bowl last year. And his stats are better than you would have thought on New Orleans last year, and I think would have been better if Drew Brees was the quarterback the entire year. I am not a huge Emmanuel Sanders guy at this point in his career. I used to love Emmanuel Sanders. Emmanuel Sanders was one of my man crushes at this position, a few years ago. But I think his play has dwindled. It's not the same as it used to be, simply because the speed, the quickness, the suddenness, it's not there as much. I think John Brown is the better player. And I think John Brown is the better player because I think he's the bigger play guy. Yes, John Brown, with him, you're always dealing with more injuries. You're dealing with more inconsistency. You're dealing with, more of a downfield target, more of a burner type. Emmanuel Sanders is more of a underneath type of receiver. So it's going to be interesting to see how they fit these guys in. But obviously, they still have Stephon Diggs. They have Gabriel Davis. Don't sleep on him, who maybe takes on more of that downfield element. And then you have Cole Beasley, Emmanuel Sanders underneath. And I like Emmanuel Sanders in this spot because I think he gives Josh Allen another underneath target, right? So you can use Stephon Diggs more as the downfield target. You can use Emmanuel Sanders more as an underneath complement to Cole Beasley in a similar way to how New England used to use like Julian Edelman and Danny Amendola. So because both of these guys have the experience of playing within the slot, you can interchangeably play these players and kind of have them run the similar or the same route tree. At the same time, you can have Emmanuel Sanders line up on the outside. Say Stephon Diggs misses a game. You can rely on Emmanuel Sanders to play that spot. You can rely on Emmanuel Sanders to play the X, the Z, or in the slot. So I think he gives a lot of versatility, and I think he gives a lot of just comfort to an offense. He's not going to be a big play player like he used to be, but he's going to be a nice veteran presence that just gets the job done still. And we'll see. Maybe this year, his play drops off significantly because I think it's gotten a little worse and worse over the last 3 years. But I wouldn't expect that playing with such a good quarterback in such a good offense. So Emmanuel Sanders to the Buffalo Bills. I also like the contract, very affordable for Buffalo. Let me know what you think about Emmanuel Sanders teaming up with Stephon Diggs and Cole Beasley in Buffalo. All right. The Packers. Former Packers running back Jamel Williams is signing a 2-year deal worth up to $7.5 million with the Detroit Lions. Let's react to that right now, damn it. All right. The Detroit Lions are signing Jamel Williams to a 2-year, $7.5 million deal. And we knew that with the new regime in Detroit, that they wanted to play some smash mouth, power football, take your kneecaps out, baby. That's exactly what Jamel Williams is all about. Jamel Williams is a grinder. Jamel Williams is going to reach for that extra yard. He is going to run somebody over. Jamel Williams is a power back with hands. That's how I best describe him. He is going to be a nice complement to what they already have in the backfield. I think he's almost an upgrade over Adrian Peterson in terms of he'll give you the power game, but at the same time, he can also catch the football. So DeAndre Swift is going to be your primary back, and he's going to be your do-it-all back. But at the same time, if you put Jamel Williams in there, it's not like in the past where you had Adrian Peterson. You had LeGarrette Blount, where these guys, you knew they weren't going to catch the dang football, right? So defenses knew it was a run or it was a play action, okay? They weren't catching the ball. Now, Jamel Williams, he can do a little bit of both. He can play in the screen game. He can play as a pass blocker. He can run the football in power situations. And he's been a very nice complement to Aaron Jones in Green Bay. You guys know him well because you've played him multiple times throughout the course of his career. Deceptive speed, deceptive power, good broken tackle ability in the open field. I think Jamel Williams will be an excellent complement to what they have in that backfield for the Detroit Lions. And it feels like Detroit is trying to play more of an old school style of football. They're trying to get back to running that rock and doing it successfully, especially now with Jared Goff being that quarterback, Matthew Stafford being gone. But this is the type of culture building signing in terms of he's a player that's going to bring toughness, grit, energy, and edge to your offense. And that's never a bad thing. So Lions fans, let me know what you think of Jamel Williams going to the Lions. 2-year deal, $7.5 million. All right, Jamel Williams. Sean says Brady might play till he's 48. Okay, so Jamel Williams, we did Tyrod, we did William Jackson, we did John Ross, we did the Bengals, we did the Jags. So what else we have? We have the Browns with Takk McKinley. Guys, which team next? We've got Andy Dalton. We've got Hunter Henry on the board. Jacoby Brissett, Calvin Beachum. We have Ahkello Witherspoon. And we did Emmanuel Sanders. Let me know. Jasmine wants the Seahawks. Guys, Gronk, spike that like button if you haven't already. Are you going to make an early Super Bowl prediction? Right after, bro, how about this, Elliot? Right after free agency, boom, Super Bowl prediction. How about that? You like that? Does that sound good to you? Also, Elliot, does your first name happen to be Zeke? Early playoff predictions. I could do that as well if you guys want, if you're interested in that. Jasmine wants the Seahawks, so we're doing what Jasmine wants here. Jasmine's a committed live streamer. So we're going to do that first. And then after that, we're going to do Andy Dalton. I did Jameis already yesterday. That video's coming out tomorrow. Do I think Gilmore is staying in New England? It appears so. I think he'll get a raise, actually. Okay, Seattle. So, Ahkello Witherspoon and Poona Ford, right? Okay. Let's do it. I don't know what the money is on Witherspoon, but regardless, let's just do it. Guys, let's get to 50 likes. We have 62 people in here. We have 47 likes. 50 likes, guys. 3 more. Okay. The Seattle Seahawks. The drama. However you say that word where you're from. Let me know. But the Seattle Seahawks, Russell Wilson, is he coming? Is he going? Is he going to Chicago? It appears not, because the Chicago Bears, I don't know what the heck they're doing there. Whack Andy Dalton. But regardless, the Seattle Seahawks have made some moves. They're trying to at least make some moves. Now, they lost Shaq Griffin. Okay, so they needed to look at the cornerback market. They needed to look at a corner who could play in their system and could replace Griffin for a lower, cheaper number. Bring in Ahkello Witherspoon. Ahkello Witherspoon of the San Francisco 49ers has played in an identical scheme for his entire career with Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh, of course, coming from Seattle. Where he brought his defense and Pete Carroll's defense to San Francisco. So Ahkello Witherspoon has had some up and down moments. He's been really good at times. He's been really bad at other times. He's had some really bad games. But actually last year, I thought mostly he was pretty good. What he is a perimeter corner. He's got great height. I think he's 6'2 or 6'3. Long arms, press coverage, right? Not great speed, but fits this system. You know, Seattle doesn't really look for speed. What they look for in their system is what I just said. Press coverage, long arms, long legs, as in they're tall. They're probably lanky, can play the ball in the air, good ball skills. Richard Sherman types, right? That's kind of what they've always been after. And Ahkello Witherspoon is the same type of player. I don't hate that they didn't sign Griffin. The reason is because this is a defense that doesn't really value the corner position the same way that other defenses do. Now, if Griffin was a cornerback on New England, I would be like, ooh, New England giving away a corner and not having a replacement would be a bad idea, because New England loves to play man-to-man coverage. New England loves to play very aggressive with their corners, and corners are very important to them. Same as Baltimore, right? But a team like Seattle, they're about more the defensive line, linebackers, and safeties. Corners are almost secondary to what they do. It's nice to have a Richard Sherman, but it's not essential to have a Richard Sherman. Ahkello Witherspoon can do well enough. He's not spectacular, but he's shown that he can play well, and he has high upside. That's also why I like this signing. It's a 1-year contract, very little risk here involved, but high upside. He's young, I think he's 25 or 26, near identical age to Griffin, and we've kind of seen what Griffin is in this scheme, in this system. He's not going to be a shutdown guy. He's not a franchise corner. He's kind of like a decent number 2 corner, and that's why I liked him for Jacksonville, but I don't love him as the number 1 guy in Seattle. So I think the money wouldn't have been wise to spend for Seattle. So thinking about it that way, the swap of Witherspoon and Griffin actually does make sense, and actually money-wise, financially, does make sense. Now, you also re-signed Poona Ford. Poona Ford was very good last year. Poona Ford was very good for you last year. He was one of, if not your best defensive lineman from beginning to end of the season. Good run defender, decent pass rusher, and a solid defensive tackle for you. You know, nothing real special, but he is a good NFL starter in your defense. And you need defensive linemen. You couldn't afford to let go of Poona Ford because your defensive line's already pretty weak. It's already bare bones. And letting go of arguably your best defensive tackle on your team would have been probably trouble. So now you guys have your defensive tackle tandem there. Your starters, they're down, they're good, they're fine. But it's about finding those edge rushers. It's about finding those pass rushers on the outside. That's going to be the trouble because you released Carlos Dunlap. Not sure how much money you have to work with. You haven't gone out and been aggressive and signed a pass rusher, which I think you desperately do need. Maybe you look to the draft for that. But overall, okay, Chris Carson's on his way out. I don't see that as a massive loss because he is a running back as much as I like him. Offensive line, you've yet to really address here. So I would look for Seattle to address the defensive line, the offensive line, and continue to maybe add some depth elsewhere on their roster to the playmaker positions, to the wide receiver position, running back position, potentially corner. But overall, Killer Witherspoon, player that low risk, high reward, and high upside. And Poona Ford, very nice to see him re-signed and back in Seattle. Stop making stuff up, Josh. Good morning, Go Bucks. Hey, guys, we don't have 50 likes yet. What's going on? Old man, what's going on, bro? Perrin says, do you think William Jackson is an upgrade? Yes, I do. I talked about that a little bit earlier. No problem. What do you think about the Browns signing McKinley? I'll do that next, Zach. I'll do that next for you. Give me a sec here. I'm just moving my notes in order so that I remember which ones I've done. Okay. Should we just leave Hunter Henry for the main event? Okay, next is going to be Takk McKinley. 1-year deal, $4 million. Was that the only signing for the Browns today? I believe so. Yesterday they signed John Johnson. Okay. All right, Takk McKinley is next. The Cleveland Browns are taking a low-risk, potentially high-reward signing here with Takk McKinley. 1-year deal, $4 million. Takk McKinley, former first-round pick of the Atlanta Falcons, is very familiar with the scheme, very familiar with this base defense for the Cleveland Browns. Teams like Cleveland, Seattle, Atlanta have all crossovered. Jacksonville, the Chargers, and more have crossovered with similar defenses. So more often than not, you see the same players rotating and moving through these teams. Takk McKinley has found a home from Atlanta to Cleveland. Now, what I like about this move is you're signing Takk McKinley not as a true starter, but more as a rotation addition, more as a complementary pass rusher. I do not expect the Browns to have Takk McKinley as a starting defensive lineman. Essentially, what I think Takk McKinley is here for Cleveland is their replacement for Adrian Claiborne, who they recently released. So their third pass rusher, their third edge rusher. That's what I see him as. And that's what I think he is best used as. Because I don't think he's a great defensive lineman. I don't think he's a great pass rusher. He has upside. He has ability. He has tools. And he's certainly shown those tools before. I think if you lower his snap count, don't rely on him as much as a starter, he'll be better because of that. So what I'm expecting Cleveland to do is use him as their off-the-bench rusher for a rotation like Adrian Claiborne, how they used him. So exactly like that. They're going to gain somebody, get somebody, acquire somebody like a Olivier Vernon. They're going to get him back, or they're going to sign, Jadeveon Clowney. Somebody in that realm of a number 2 edge rusher, because you already have Myles Garrett. So they're going to look to sign one of those type of guys to be more of the starter. I actually think, just throwing this out there, I actually think Jadeveon Clowney and Takk McKinley wouldn't be a bad combo there. And then you could also be pretty flexible and versatile with how you align them and how you utilize them. Because Clowney's an excellent first and second down player, but he's not the greatest pass rusher, while Takk McKinley is more of a speed, finesse pass rusher, while not necessarily a 3-down player. So I don't mind that. Same thing with Olivier Vernon, right? And Olivier Vernon would be probably more interesting in terms of the versatility, because while Clowney can kind of align as a blitzer on different spots, like Olivier Vernon could probably smooth inside and play as like a power defensive tackle type rusher. So yeah, I think this is the first part of a second signing that's about to happen. Like, I don't know who it's going to be, but it will make more sense when it does happen. Now, could you get one in the draft? Sure. I don't think the pass rushers in the draft that this year are all that great. They don't really leap off the page. And for a team like Cleveland, who has enough money to make a move, and they're in a position where they want to win right now because they just went to the divisional round and they're not too far off from going to the Super Bowl. If they acquire, some veterans, they can add some layers of depth in the draft, but I don't feel like their starter should come through the draft. That's just my opinion. So Takk McKinley is a player I like with some upside, who's still young, a former first-round pick. I never dislike these moves. I always see the upside. I never see the downside in 1 year, $4 million type contracts. And in a defense like Cleveland, currently he's slated to be your number 2, but he'll be your number 3 or your number 4. And that is ideally where he belongs. He has experience in this system. He'll fit in quite well, and he'll fit in right away to this defense. So I like this move. Takk McKinley, upside signing on the defensive line for the Cleveland Browns. There you go. That's Takk McKinley. Next, what do we have? Titans. We've got the Titans. We've got the Bears. We've got the Dolphins. Jacoby Brissett, Andy Dalton. We've got the quarterbacks. Cowboys made a couple signings. Oh, man, maybe. I don't know, old man. I don't know. I've never seen a Menhue. I don't even know how to say his name anymore. Onwenu. I've never seen him play center before. I did Jamel Williams. Thanks, Zach. Sorry. Thank you. You want the Bears? The Chiefs. I did Joe Tooney yesterday, bro. They didn't sign anyone else, did they? Okay, Andy Dalton is next. Next up on the docket, we've got Andy Dalton. So Andy Dalton, 1 year, $10 million with a chance to earn $3 million in incentives. Thomas says Patriots, Chargers, Jags making nice moves. I would agree. Specifically with the Patriots and the Jags. All right. I like the Chargers moves, but it's just been less. Okay. 1 year, $10 million. All right. The Chicago Bears went from Russell Wilson to Andy Dalton. So essentially, in one corner, you have probably an underdrafted player, a player who for many seasons straight went to the playoffs, a player who is known to have a rifle of a right arm, a player who played in an organization that didn't quite appreciate him, a player that maybe should get more recognition than he has gotten. And in the other corner, you have Russell Wilson. Andy Dalton has signed a 1-year contract worth $10 million with $3 million in incentives to play for the Chicago Bears. The Bears have their new quarterback, their new starter, in my opinion, for the 2021 season. At least that's what it looks like right now, Bears fans. I know that's not what you want to hear. I know you would have rather me come on here and preach and talk about Russell Wilson being in Chicago or, possibly another big name like Deshaun Watson. But you're going to have Andy Dalton, most likely. And what I got to say about this man, all kidding aside, I think this move absolutely, positively sucks. I'm sorry, Bears fans. Some of you might be positive about this, but I'm sitting here and I'm saying, what in the blue are the Bears doing? What are they doing? What are they thinking? How could you think this is the move to make? Now, I understand that with the current coaching staff, it makes sense to bring in Andy Dalton. You have some guys that have worked with Andy Dalton there on the offensive coaching staff in the past. He knows the system. He's ran it well in the past. Here's the thing. Andy Dalton played with arguably the best receiving core in the NFL last year. And an offensive line that is probably better than the Bears, but they didn't have Tyron Smith. They didn't have Collins either, so it wasn't a great offensive line. But a top 3 receiving core. Andy Dalton is not going to be better this year, a year older, with less weapons, with a bad offensive line, with a worse running game, arguably. The only thing that he has now is a defense. Andy Dalton is not a starter in the NFL. I don't know what is going on in Chicago, who is making these decisions, but whoever it is seriously needs to get their head checked, their brain examined. I like Andy Dalton. He seems like a nice fellow. But he's not a starting quarterback. He's a backup. There's a reason he's a backup. There's a reason the Cowboys paid $4 kajillion for Dak Prescott. Because they realize Andy Dalton is not it. They realize that. Obviously, Chicago did not tune into Cowboys games this year. See, this is the thing. I would not be criticizing this move if Andy Dalton was the backup. If the plan is that Andy Dalton is the bridge, if he's the bridge quarterback, okay, that's fine. That's serviceable. I can understand that. I can get behind that. But if Andy Dalton is your actual answer to be your quarterback, somebody needs to get fired. Somebody really needs to get fired. If he's your answer. I'd rather have Mitchell Trubisky. I would. Now, maybe I'd rather have Andy Dalton than Nick Foles. But it's bad. How? How can you go from Russell Wilson, Hall of Famer, Super Bowl champion, borderline MVP the last 3 years, best deep ball in the game, best improviser in the game, to, in the other corner, Andy Dalton? How can you do that? You promised the world and you get Andy Dalton. Again, I'm not trying to personally attack Andy Dalton, but like, it's not good enough. So they need to draft somebody. They need to look to move up in the draft if they want to draft somebody, most likely. Or they need to try to get Deshaun Watson, because it doesn't feel like it's going to be Russ. And I don't even know if they have enough money to trade for Deshaun Watson. So, man, I don't know, Bears fans. Let me know what you think. But this move absolutely positively stinks, in my opinion. Andy Dalton. 1 year, $10 million. Not to mention, 1 year, $10 million. That's like 2 times Jameis Winston and Cam Newton. I'd rather have both those guys over Andy Dalton. So, okay. Okay, Bears. We'll see how you do in 2021. Sorry, Nick Gill. Sorry, buddy. Joe Mixon says Dalton is a good guy, not a good football player. All right, who's next? We've got Jacoby. Should we do Jacoby next? I wonder what Durkant thinks of Jacoby. I haven't heard his response. Durkant, you still awake or is it past your bedtime? Ranny says, do you think the Seahawks should go after David Andrews or Rodney Hudson? Do I think they should? Yes, but do I think they will? No. I think they already signed a center earlier in the offseason. I don't think they're going to. Alana says, do the Pats. Jasmine says, Mitch only said Russell has the best deep ball in the game to prove his point. How do you know I don't believe that? It's one of them, maybe the best. I already talked about Jameis, T-Bone. That video's coming out during the middle of the night while you're going to be sleeping. Bro, I got to remind you guys, I'm going to be bombarding you with videos. Like, there's going to be 17 videos out by tomorrow morning, just so you guys know. And then the day after that, there's going to be another 18 videos. So just be ready. You won't get all the notifications, though. If you guys don't already have the notification bell on, though, you should definitely. Jack says, what do you think about Brockers to Detroit? Let me check that out. I didn't see that. I don't think the Patriots... I think they'll bring somebody in, but it could be like a rookie, like a mid-round rookie. Nicholas says, Mitch, shouldn't we have rather traded for Darnold or Minshew? Yeah, I think so. I like Minshew. I think Minshew hasn't been talked about enough, but I like him as a trade candidate because I don't think he's going to cost a lot. And I think he's actually pretty good. So, yeah, I think Minshew is being slept on a little bit. Who's better for Seattle? I would say Andrews is better for Seattle. When are we sending the jersey to my man Connor? What's up, Mitchell Milani? Soon. Okay, here we go. The Rams had asked Michael Brockers to adjust his contract. The two sides couldn't come to terms, so now he's headed to Detroit. They're finalizing a trade to send Michael Brockers to the Lions. Okay. Oh my God. Michael Brockers is back with Jared Goff. I feel bad for that man. I'm going to wait to see what the trade is. Is that okay for you guys? I'm going to wait to see what the trade is. If you guys know what the trade is, like what pick it's for, then let me know because that's important. So we'll do Jacoby next. If the Pats get Watson, I'll send you a cake. Awesome. Who's the most underrated player in your opinion? In the NFL, man? Oof. The most underrated player in the NFL. Oh my God. I think it was Levante David until the Super Bowl. Maybe he's not underrated anymore. Wow, that's a hard question. That takes serious thought. I don't really think a quarterback can be underrated. Really, like, maybe slightly. Yeah, I'll think about that one. I don't know off the top of my head. Jesse Bates is a good one, though. Okay. Let's do Jacoby Brissett. The Miami Dolphins and Brian Flores have reached a one-year agreement with Jacoby Brissett. Possibly their new backup or their possible new competitor and competition for Tua. Jacoby Brissett, of course, a relationship with Brian Flores, as Brian Flores and Jacoby Brissett both came from New England. Jacoby Brissett being traded from New England to Indianapolis, becoming their starter for a good period of time, showing what he's worth. And so far, the evaluation on Jacoby Brissett is he's serviceable, he's fine, he's okay. He has some tools to work with, a strong arm, pretty good at protecting the football, a decent amount of mobility, good size, but he's not truly a starting quarterback, at least has not shown that quite yet. Jacoby Brissett signs a one-year, approximately $7-ish million deal for this year, 2021. He will be making high-end backup money, which is about what you would expect. And I thought that Jacoby Brissett was actually going to get a more long tenured deal because he is quite young still. He's about 25, 26 years old, I do believe. And he can be a backup for a team for like a long period of time. But perhaps the Dolphins and Flores wanted to see how Brissett meshed with the Dolphins, what he brought to Miami, and possibly just as competition. Or, if Tua does not play up to his level or is not playing as expected, then Jacoby Brissett can certainly come in there and do a serviceable job and certainly, get the fire going and really stirring that pot for Tua. I like this idea. I like the idea not only of having a high quality backup, but also having a guy that's going to provide competition for your starting quarterback if it is going to be Tua, right? So there's still some conversations and some rumors regarding Deshaun Watson. I'm tending to lay off that take a little bit more because it does appear that Miami is ready to go with Tua. But at least here they have determined that they do need to provide competition. I think competition at the quarterback position has always been very underrated. Not only competition, but just insurance. I think having those two things in one package is always a good idea, right? Jacoby Brissett, not only is he a former starting quarterback, but he's somebody that's still quite young, so you could still realistically see him as a starting possibility. And I think that will signal to Tua that he needs to be on his A game. And I think when you would look and you would watch them both in practice, I think Dolphins players would look at both players and say there's not too much of a difference between them. I think Tua probably has, the more accurate of the football, but Jacoby certainly has a stronger arm. I think Jacoby and Tua have similar levels of mobility. Jacoby's a bigger guy, probably straight line just as fast as Tua, but Tua is definitely quicker and more mobile in the pocket. So I think if Tua were to get hurt or if Tua, weren't to play that well, I think Jacoby could certainly come in and play about the same level, if not in some games just as good, if not better. I think when you look at that situation for Jacoby and Ryan Fitzpatrick being the old starter and the old bridge and the old backup to Tua, I think that's a good replacement there. You kind of go younger at that spot. You provide a new face, a new sense of competition, And I do have to wonder if there's a little bit of friction there between Fitzpatrick and Miami after the way things went down with him being sat, him being, taken out kind of unnecessarily in my opinion, not fairly in my opinion. But the overall thing here is I feel that Jacoby Brissett is a solid quality backup who's a very good guy in the locker room. Just a great teammate from all I've heard, being a Patriot, being a Colt, dealing with Andrew Luck and dealing with Tom Brady and dealing with Phillip Rivers. He's a great guy to have in a way to tutor Tua as well, having been around Phillip Rivers, having been around Tom Brady, having been around Andrew Luck. So for a young guy, he has plenty of experience, and he can also just bring you a different type of player and a good backup and a good insurance policy and a good competition to this quarterback room. So Tua is the guy, but Jacoby is somebody that is valuable to have on your team if you're the Dolphins. All right, Jacoby Brissett. Chargers do need to sign another corner. All right, so we have a few more. Fact or fiction, Tua's sophomore slump. Well, did Tua really have a good first season? Would you consider it a slump? Old man says Patriots should either bring in Trubisky or Minshew. I'd love to have Minshew. I think Cam's going to be the starter, but I would love to have some, a decent backup. I don't think they like Stidham that much, honestly. I could see Stidham being cut. Seattle needs a left guard and a center. Any suggestions? Let me take a look. Let me take a look at my free agency board here. Honestly, I can't even remember all the players that got cut. There's a lot of offensive linemen that were cut. I think the Chargers defense will be about the same because I think their talent will be worse, but I think their coaching is much better. They've already signed a center. So I don't think they're going to sign another center. They already signed Nick Martin, right? I think that's going to be their guy. I mean, Austin Reeder, as Nick brought up, isn't a bad one. Looking at the guards, maybe they reunite with J.R. Sweezy. Gabe Jackson is still out there. John Feliciano, I believe, is still out there. DJ Fluker is still out there, who was there before. Nick Easton. Any of those guys would be solid starters. Nothing special. If they want to bring back Ethan Pochich, I think he's still a free agent. Alex Mack is still there. Alex Mack would be a good one. I think that would make sense. Minshew is young. Connor says Adoree Jackson. Adoree Jackson got cut, yeah. Who's the best corner left in free agency? Maybe Adoree Jackson. Let me look. Oh, probably Xavier Rhodes. He hasn't been signed, right? Probably Xavier Rhodes or Adoree Jackson. Oh, unless you can... Brian Poole hasn't been signed, right? Has he? Well, unless you consider Brian Poole a corner, he's a nickel corner. When will I release the Brady Haters Part 2? Hopefully soon, bro. After the initial wave of free agency, I'll get on it. Who's the best linebacker still available? Jayon Brown, for sure. Jayon Brown and KJ Wright. Tyler's World, what's going on, bro? Hugo says, Mitch, do you think Keanu Neal is washed? No. Do you think he could still improve? I don't know if he can improve, but maybe he could regain his form. Appreciate you watching. All right. Who's next? The Seahawks could sign Sherman, but I don't expect them to. I need to do the Titans. Shy Town says, what do you think the Bears' plan is? I have no idea. If anyone knew that, they'd be a millionaire. Yeah, the reason I wouldn't say Sherman is my top corner is he's just too slow. I think he should play safety. But in that system, he's still good. He's still a number 2. Okay, let's do the Titans. I didn't do Danico Autry yesterday, and I got to do Janoris Jenkins. Who the heck is playing corner for the Titans? Griffin got signed. I could see Juju on the Raiders. I think Raiders, Dolphins, who else? Let me look at the rest. I think maybe the Ravens. Titans maybe. Those teams stand out. Okay. Sherman is not a top 10 corner. He's not even close to a top 10 corner in my opinion. Maybe he's top 30. That's just my opinion, though. You can disagree. All right, Titans. The Tennessee Titans have made some moves to upgrade their defense. First, they signed Bud Dupree. They have also paired him up front with Danico Autry of the Indianapolis Colts. Danico Autry is a player that traditionally has played in 4-3 type base defenses, 4-man lines, 4-man rushes, where he's been mostly an edge rusher with his hand in the dirt, coming off the edge, but he also has the versatility to line up inside and rush from the inside. So I'm really intrigued to see how Mike Vrabel and this defense plans on using the skills of Danico Autry. Had a good season last year. I believe maybe even his best yet in terms of sacks and pressure production. He played a big role for the Colts on a good defense and a good defensive line. What I like about Autry is that he is well-rounded. He can rush the passer. He can also defend the run and set the edge. That's important in Mike Vrabel's defense. I like what they have here in Danico Autry and Bud Dupree on the edge now. They have some depth, right? Harold Landry is still there. I like what they have in terms of the ability with guys that can rush the passer, can set the edge, can put their hand in the dirt, can stand up. They've got great versatility. Plus, you can use Danico Autry in almost like a Trey Flowers-esque type of way, how New England or Bill Belichick would use him, where it's like that role where you line up on the edge. You're maybe a little bit oversized for that defense on the edge, but you can move inside and play, more of a 3-4 DN type role, or like even a defensive tackle type role as on a 4-man line where you're rushing from the inside. Like he has that type of versatility and flexibility within his frame and within his ability. So Danico Autry, good player, solid player, somebody that's kind of overlooked. On Indianapolis, everybody talks about Darius Leonard. They talk about Justin Houston. They talk about DeForest Buckner. But Danico Autry was somebody that was really good and really doesn't have a flaw in his game. He's not an elite edge rusher. He's not an elite player, but he is very solid. And that is a prototypical Titans signing right there. Now, the other signing was Janoris Jenkins, formerly of the New Orleans Saints, the New York Giants, and the Rams. Janoris Jenkins is a playmaking press man-to-man cornerback who will now be on the Tennessee Titans. Janoris Jenkins doesn't have the speed, which does scare you on the perimeter, but if he has safety help, he's proven that he can be a very good corner. New Orleans has kind of rejuvenated his ability, so I'm worried that when he leaves New Orleans, he won't quite be the same player. But I doubted Jack Rabbit for the past 2 years because of that speed, because of that ability to be beat over the top. But if you put him in the right position to succeed, which is what you should do with every football player, he should be able to succeed even at his older veteran age. My concern is that Tennessee has really stripped their cornerback group. They've stripped their secondary. Malcolm Butler, free agent, right? They lost Logan Ryan last offseason, and that didn't really go well. Desmond King's a free agent who they had last season. And also, they released Adoree Jackson, who might have been their best corner. So all of those guys are free agents. And now Janoris Jenkins might be asked to be their number one, which I don't think he is a number one. I think he's a good number two. But when you ask him to cover the elite wide receivers in the game, who just possess better physical ability at this point in their careers, better quickness, better speed, better size, he gets in trouble. He's not able to do that. But if you put him on a number two, more of the route running type, you allow him to play press coverage, you allow him to be aggressive, you allow him to make plays, Janoris Jenkins can be a good number two corner. So the question is, does Tennessee find a number one corner? Do they try to sign somebody? Do they try to draft somebody? How do they rework this secondary? Because their safety position is still fine, especially, with Kevin Byard there, but cornerback, not so great. Now, their front seven should be better with what we just discussed. Bud Dupree, Danico Autry. You have to wonder what Mike Vrabel and this Tennessee organization is thinking with rebuilding this defense. They've already lost some offensive pieces as well, so they have plenty of needs to address for the rest of the free agency and the draft. Let me know what you guys think about Autry and Janoris Jenkins headed to Tennessee. All right. All right, so Tennessee is done. You want me to name 10 corners better than Richard Sherman? Well, that would be easy. You really want me to do that? I feel bad. I like Sherman. All right, we've got Hunter Henry. We've got the Cowboys. What's up, Carlos? We've got Kelvin Beachum. Did Kelvin Beachum resign? Was he on that team? What team was he on again? The guy's been on like 1,000 teams. Okay, they re-signed him. I'm not going to do that one because they re-signed him. There's no point, really. So I'm not going to do that. I did Seattle, Rob. Did you miss it? I did Witherspoon. Is that what you're wondering? Yeah, I think I'm just going to do, maybe I should do Ty Nsekhe. What do you guys think? Where's Gardner Minshew? He's still on the Jags. They're still on the Jags. I have not done Hunter Henry yet. It's the main event that everybody's been waiting for. Lions have interest in LaMarcus Joyner, apparently. Oh, should I do the Brockers trade? Did anyone find out what the Brockers trade was for? writing this down in my notes so I don't forget. Patriots record prediction. I don't know if I should say it right now because I feel like it would waste some good content. But all I'll say is playoffs will be expected, Elliot. All right. Okay, let's just do Brockers because I don't know what it was for, but let's just do it. Who cares? I don't think it will be for that much. Maybe like a 4th rounder, 5th rounder or something. All right. Shane, no, not allowed. Shane, not allowed. Don't do it. No slander. No Cam slander in this chat. All right. Michael Brockers has been traded from the Los Angeles Rams to the Detroit Lions. The Lions are getting a stout interior defensive lineman. Those old Rams ways, the general manager making some moves for Detroit. Now, Detroit, they made previous engagement. You might have heard of it. It's called Matthew Stafford for Jared Goff and some picks. You might have heard of that one. Well, they've made another one. Michael Brockers has been traded. I do not currently know as of 12:41 on the East Coast on a Wednesday now, March 17th. I currently do not know what the trade is actually for. My guess would be a 6th, 5th round pick, maybe at the most a 4th round pick. Anything more I think would be a steal for the Rams, personally. But when I look at Michael Brockers, I like just an all-around interior defensive lineman. Somebody that's very stout versus the run, has been good consistently year after year after year for the past 3, 4, 5 years. Just stout versus the run, good, big guy, played a little D-tackle, a little end as well. And I think is going to bring what the Rams want in terms of their culture there to Detroit, right? So Detroit tried to do the whole Patriot way thing with Matt Patricia. It didn't really work out. Now, this regime, a mix of New Orleans and LA Rams flavor, trying to bring in some players of that regime and trying to bring that culture. And Michael Brockers is one that I think can be a leader in that locker room, very good player, and can help this team. Right? He's like in the class of very good for the defensive tackle interior lineman position. If I had to rank him, he'd be somewhere within the top 35, I would guess, at that position, maybe slightly higher than that. But yeah, just a consistent player for the last 3, 4, 5 years. And good as a pass rusher, not great, not spectacular, but solid, and mostly known for his ability to stop the run. He's been very good in tandem with Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald playing his aggressive pass rushing style, aggressive uphill style. Michael Brockers has been that wall, that brick wall. So this is a guy that's going to replace Danny Shelton. He's going to upgrade the interior defensive line for Detroit that was very bad last year. Very bad. Detroit had one of the worst run defenses in the NFL, and Michael Brockers will instantly make that better for them. We will see what the Lions do in terms of upfront maneuvering. They re-signed Okora. They still have Flowers under contract. Will they keep him? Will they trade him? That's a question. They are rebuilding the lines here in Detroit. They want to play a tough, hard-nosed style of football, and Michael Brockers will allow them to do that and fix one of their biggest weaknesses. So Brockers to the Detroit Lions. As for the Rams, they get rid of some cap space. They allow themselves to maybe flirt with the free agent market and some positions of need. Otherwise, it's not like you're getting a big pick in return. So Michael Brockers to the Detroit Lions. All right. They did have one of the worst defenses, period. That is true. No, 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 no. The Raiders are idiots, Lenny. Yes, Jasmine is a Newton believer. That's why I ranked Jasmine ahead of Nick on the list. Lenny is ahead of Nick because Lenny likes Cam. Nick doesn't like Cam, so Nick's lower on the list. Shane Trent's the lowest because he had the slander. All right, are we ready? Hunter Henry time? Let me actually check this contract. Future quarterback of the Broncos. Drew Lock. Drew Lock, draft pick. I just talked about Brockers. Did you miss it? Yes, Nick knows. Old man says Cam's going to ball out. Now you guys say this. Someone from the Pewter Report said that if the Bucs sign James White, that offense will be predictable as defenses know. Now, White's... Okay, here's the thing, Winris. Please tell me where the Patriots have ranked on offense and how many Super Bowls they have won with James White. Also, tell me James White's stats in the Super Bowl, and then that will answer your question. Cam jersey's right here. All right. Hunter Henry time. The New England Patriots yesterday signed Jonnu Smith, one of their top targets. In fact, their top target out of all the wide receivers and tight ends on the market. Jonnu Smith, top target. One of the top tight ends. One of the most promising young tight ends in football. Who would have known that Bill Belichick's plan all along was to sign another top 10 tight end? They're going 12 personnel in New England. 2 tight ends. Base set. Jonnu Smith. Hunter Henry. Throwback to 2012. Throwback to 2011. It's Hernandez. It's Gronk. That is their football. Now, it'll be slightly different. It will be more power running oriented. It'll be a little bit different. It'll be more play action oriented. But now, the offense becomes a chess match for Josh McDaniels. This is exactly what Josh McDaniels wants. All these chess pieces. And as we know, if you win the middle of the field, if you dictate personnel, you win in football. So now, what are you going to do when Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry come for you? What are you going to do? If you go nickel, we're going to run the ball down your throats. If you go base, we're going to shred you with 2 of the best tight ends in the league. Not only 2 of the best, but 2 of the best athletes. So you can't simply say linebacker 1, cover Hunter Henry. Linebacker 2, cover Jonnu Smith. You cannot do that. No, sir. What are you going to do when Cam Newton comes out in a 3 tight end set, back in the shotgun, running in a power formation, 3rd and 3? It's unstoppable. You can't defend the run and the pass. You can't defend all these players, all these weapons, this awesome offensive line, this powerful running game, which was already one of the best last year, McDaniels is going to feast this year. This man was finding ways last year to just simply move the ball yard by yard, play by play. But now he has actual weapons. And Cam Newton has actual weapons. Every Cam hater who said, nah, Mitch, Cam sucks. Cam's not got it anymore. Cam can't throw. His arm is off. His shoulder sucks. You know what? Where are those people now? I don't hear them anymore. Because now they're scared. Because now they realize that maybe, just maybe, it wasn't the quarterback that was the problem. Maybe, just maybe, they realized that Cam wasn't the issue. That Tom Brady in 2019 wasn't the issue. Maybe if we had a tight end who could catch the ball, maybe if the Patriots had a tight end who could get open, maybe if they didn't have the 32nd most receptions and yards and touchdowns from the tight end position, this offense wouldn't suck. Maybe if they had an NFL wide receiver, they could move the ball. Maybe Cam would be successful. Cam came in and made this offense better from a running perspective. They were an elite rushing attack with Cam Newton. 12 rushing touchdowns. They were dynamic in that facet. Now they're going to be better in that facet. Better. Because now they got tight ends who not only can run block, but also catch the football. Now they've got receivers who are actually legitimate threats. So Tom Brady wasn't the issue. And Cam Newton certainly wasn't the issue. Cam Newton's going to have a big year, guys. What did Cam Newton do well in Carolina? He didn't really ever have receivers, but he had Greg Olsen. Greg Olsen, who's a lot like Hunter Henry or a lot like Jonnu Smith. So he's going to thrive with those guys. Now what can you do? Just think about all the ways you could beat a defense. Just think about it. Like, you've got two tight ends. What could you do from there? You've got one back. You could have two back. You could have three tight end. You could have four receivers now. You could have Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry at tight end. Then the next play, they hurry up. They spread them out. Henry's in the slot. Jonnu Smith's in the slot. 4-man wide. And you're asking 5'9" nickel corner to cover 6'4" Hunter Henry. Or, okay, you come out and it's linebacker on Hunter Henry. Or, like I said, you've got three linebackers on the field, and Patriots are in two tight ends, two receivers, and a back. They split them out wide, and now you're shredding them. You could do so many things. I love this approach by Cam Newton. To have Cam Newton at $5.5 million, which is an absolute steal, and surround him with as many targets and players, and then defense behind it. See, people are forgetting, the Patriots' defense now, I know this video is about Hunter Henry, the Patriots' defense now is going to be elite, because their only issue last year is they could not stop the run. They got that fixed. That's good. We're good now. Okay? Patriots defense, Bill Belichick, Dante Hightower coming back, Matthew Judon coming in, Henry Anderson, Devon Godchaux now, Patrick Chung coming back, Jalen Mills added to the secondary with Stephon Gilmore and J.C. Jackson and Jonathan Jones and Devin McCourty and Kyle Duggar and Chase Winovich and Josh Usay. and Dietrich Wise, this defense is loaded. So they're going to be a good defense. So not only do they have now actual legitimate NFL players and weapons, but here's the thing that not enough people understand. They are going to be such a unique team. This is what people don't get. Okay, tell me who matches up well with the Patriots. Tell me one team in the NFL that matches up well with the Patriots. And I will tell you how the Patriots could go about beating that team. That is the thing with Bill Belichick. He is so many steps ahead of everybody else. He's like, what's that show? Queen's Gambit. That is Bill Belichick. The King's Gambit. Jonnu Smith on the chessboard. Hunter Henry on the chessboard. Your primary competition in the AFC is the Bills and the Chiefs. The Chiefs can't stop the run. The Chiefs have bad cover linebackers. The Chiefs have good receivers, a good passing game, which you have great corners, and a great pass defense. The Chiefs they're not going to want to play the Patriots. The Bills are the same thing. So, to me, the Patriots, with this move of Hunter Henry, they got the chess. While other teams are playing checkers, Belichick's playing chess. The Ravens, get out of here with the Ravens. We took their guy. Matthew Judon in the building. They got no receivers. Who they got? Ravens or nothing. Browns, they got no defense still. I'm sorry. Who's better than the Patriots in the AFC? Who? The only team that might be able to match up with the Patriots is the Bucs. That's it. Maybe. But even then, okay, I think the way the Patriots are built offensively, maybe their run game would be slowed down, but those tight ends would be a challenge for the Bucs defense, I think. And we know that Belichick would have a good plan for their offense. So when you really look at it, maybe the Patriots don't seem like the best team on the surface. They don't seem crazy great on the surface. But when you consider their matchup issues that they pose to every other team, they'll be such a challenge. This was what I was talking about last year, but they just didn't have the players. Now they've got the players. They've got the players now. And they're not done. They're not finished. They're still going. Apparently they want a receiver. Odell, come on down. Okay? They probably going to draft some defense. I'm telling you, you guys better hop on this train. Bet right now. I'm telling you. The Chargers. Hunter Henry is a dynamic tight end. He's a great receiver. If he stays healthy, he's going to be a superstar. It's as simple as that. 6'5", good speed, good quickness, great hands, good route runner, can block. Belichick loves this guy. I cannot wait to watch the Patriots. They're going to be so exciting and so different and so fresh and so new. And just all of it's going to be awesome. I can't wait. And all the haters are going to be absolutely disgusted. These people that still don't see it, they got their glasses fogged up. Unfog those glasses. Because the Patriots are coming. Hunter Henry's a part of the club, and the Patriots are going to make noise. That's it, guys. That's it. All right. Thank you guys for watching tonight. If you enjoyed Make sure you do Gronk spike that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more NFL videos just like this. It's Mitch.